Scorpio, welcome to Yellow Cardinal Tarot with me. My name is Carol, and this is going to be a general reading for you for July 2025. And in today's reading, we're going to be doing the Yellow Cardinal Cross. And so it's a reading I've done on this channel quite a few times. And so what we're going to do is we're going to start off by looking at the issue that you're dealing with. It could be a problem, a decision you have to make. It could be a pattern that's showing up in your life. And then I'm going to I'm going to select a second card, and it's going to be a card that's going to clarify it right away. And it may even tell me what's obscuring it, sort of like what's blocking it. And then I'm going to look at the conscious influence in the third position. And that's going to be what you're consciously aware of. And it's going to be what is influencing the situation that's going on with you right now. A lot of times it'll talk about sort of your behavior around it, sometimes how you're blocking it or kind of how you're reacting to it. And then we're going to look at what's really important is the unconscious influence, because this unconscious influence is actually what is manifesting the majority of the external patterns and the cycles and whatever it is that's going on with you right now. And that is going to be what's causing this really to all happen, because that's what's sitting in our shadow. And that's what I call the shadow work that we're going to be doing, right? We're going to be looking at, okay, what's going on here that needs healing, and it's causing, you're finding yourself in this situation, and this is what you're aware of. It's almost like, you know, this is your inner world, and your outer world is sitting over here, number 3, and that is going to be the mirror of what's going on in your inner world. So it's fascinating how the two will definitely be related. Finally, at the top, I'm going to look at what's needed for resolution for you, just to kind of clarify, put all this into perspective for you, where you need to focus, because I'm not going to leave you hanging. And then in the end, I'm going to ask for some guidance from the tarot, and I too might recommend a video or two from my other channel called Carol Cares for you to focus on as well. So let's get started with the Light Seers Tarot to pull the 6 cards from that, and then I'm going to clarify it with the Radiant Rider-Waite. And then I'm going to pull a Spirit Pocket Animal card for you at the end. So let's get started by looking at the issue that you're dealing with right now, Scorpio. Whether it's a decision, some sort of problem, pattern that's showing up in your life. Just one card for that, please. Like that one to show up, and then another card to clarify it or obscure it. That's obscuring this issue. So you have the 9 of Cups as the main issue, but let's have number 2, the clarifier, or what's obscuring it, come out. Okay, you have the 5 of Swords as well as the Ace of Pentacles in reverse for you. And then what's the conscious influence for you, number 3 over here? The conscious influence on this decision, this problem. That one came out quickly. 10 of Cups. The unconscious influence, what's sitting in your shadow, actually, something that you're unaware of. Whoa. I'm going to put these away, and I'm going to take this one right here, which is the 5 of Wands. What's needed for resolution right here, Scorpio? There, see, there's too many there. So, just going to take these 2. You have the 8 of Cups and the 4 of Pentacles in reverse. And finally, guidance from the tarot. One card, please. It has to give me 2 all the time. High Priestess in reverse, not in reverse, and the Queen of Wands in reverse. Okay, so let's turn to, remember, I'm going to give you your spirit animal in the end. Actually, I'll pull it out right now, and then it'll be there for me, and I won't forget it. So I think I'm going to ask, I think I got enough information right here. in the middle. I'm gonna, oh, 10 of Cups, I want some information on that. A couple cards, one there, and maybe one more. There we go. So, you have the Temperance card in reverse and the Queen of Pentacles in reverse here for the 10 of Cups. 8 of Cups and the 4 of Pentacles. I think I'll ask for one card for these two at the top. And I got the Justice card. Actually, I forgot the 5 of Wands. I'm going to need a couple cards for that. There's one more. There we go. Okay, so you got the 6 of Wands and the Ace of Cups. High Priestess and the Queen of Wands in reverse. How about one card here? There we go. 10 of Pentacles. Second time that card's come out. It's interesting that it's almost like I don't see it at all, 10 of Pentacles, and then it comes out a couple times in a row here. Okay, so let's pick a card, spirit animal card for you. I won't tell you what it is until the end. I saw it, but I won't tell you. Yeah, and I'll read at the end here for you. Okay, let's begin with the issue that you're dealing with. And it could be a problem. It could be a decision you have to make. It could be a pattern that you're seeing showing up and you're wondering, you know, what's going on here. So 9 of Cups shows up in this individual that's just, you know, elated with, it looks like they've just opened up this treasure of these beautiful, all these jewels that are coming out, and they're celebrating, and they have all these emotions that they're throwing up in the air, right? But this is the 9 of Cups, and they're celebrating already when it's not at the 10, because the 10 is the final, not the final, but from, you know, each deck has the pit cards go from ace to 10, and you're not at the 10 yet. It's interesting that the 10 of Cups is showing up over here when right after you're sitting, and so we'll get to that in a minute, but the 9 of Cups says, well, wait a minute here, you have one more cup to go. Cups are about our emotions, and yet this person has celebrated. And it's almost like they've won, or, you know, it's the end, and so it's like the 9 of Cups I like to refer to as a spiritual bypasser. It's somebody that says, you know what, I've done all my healing. And maybe, you know, this is you where you've kind of felt, oh, I've been doing a lot of healing, and I've been going through so many emotions, and I'm kind of like I'm done healing. And the Rider-Waite deck, it's this individual that's sitting here puts all his cups up in a row, right, and has them like they're trophies. And then he's like got his arms crossed and says like, I'm done. And so I'm wondering here if this is you, where it's like, you know, I'm done healing. I've healed enough. I've cried enough. I've grieved enough. And we get to a point where it's like, I'm done. I've had enough. I'm fed up. I'm done with my healing. And maybe this is where you are, where it's like, no, I'm done. I'm good, thanks. I don't want to heal anymore. I don't want to feel anymore because I've felt enough. But then right behind it, to clarify everything, you've got this 5 of Swords card coming out here. And this 5 of Swords is what I like to call my bullying card. And normally the individual at the front is the one that you see way at the back. The one at the front is usually the one that has won this battle, and he's got this grimace on his face. He's, you know, won some swords. He's been in a sword battle, and then he's got his victim way at the back, you know. But this time we get a close-up. We get a close-up of the victim here. And so I'm seeing here that, you know, I think you're feeling a lot of shame. Some shame's starting to come up. It's creeping up in you. And I think when we feel shame, it's it's a feeling that starts with SH for a reason, because it really is an emotion that feels like shit. And we don't sit and talk about it. Like, we can say, you know, I'm angry, or I'm happy, or I'm scared, but we don't seem to sit around and go, you know, I'm feeling a lot of shame. And shame is that when you can hear it almost when you beat yourself up and you tell yourself things and you think that you're horrible, and it's just full of unworthiness. And you know, it's almost like, see this crow right here? It's almost like it's talking to you in your ear, and it's saying how much of a piece of crap you are, and saying all these horrible things to you. And that's why you've got your, you know, your hand on your ear, and it's just like, I've heard enough. Like, when is this going to stop? When are you going to stop beating yourself up? This is Scorpio. You've been doing this for a while. And it's, you know, and yet you don't want to deal with it, but you're starting to heal. This stuff's spinning in your head. And then you get this offer, this Ace of Pentacles. And any ace is an offer from the universe. It's like a gift. It says, here you go. And it's offering you a pentacle. And the pentacle is all about the earth element. It's all about getting grounded. It's all about getting into our body, because the pentacle itself is our body. But it's almost like there's a real fear to, you know, accepting this gift right here. It's like the universe is saying, Scorpio, have you forgotten about your body? Have you forgotten that this part of your body, this part of you, from your neck down, is your body, and it exists? Because I think you're all up in your head right now with all of these things that you're hearing and you're telling yourself. It's like this shame, you know, you're bullying yourself. Have you forgotten about your body? Because there's a lot of shame here that's coming up for you to deal with. And I think you're really trying to ignore, and it's like, no, I did my healing. I don't want to feel anymore. I'm all done. But there's something more for you to look at and feel. There always is, until the day we die. I remember 8 years ago when I started this journey, this intensive healing journey that I'm on still, and will always be. One of the things that I asked my life coach, my trauma life coach, throughout, you know, especially the beginning, you know, probably throughout the first year, is like, when is this going to be done? And like, when don't I have to work with you anymore? When is this all going to be over? When will I feel everything? When will I have uncovered all my repressed memories? And I don't ask anymore. I've been with her for 8 years, and I think I'll always will be with her. Just because I'm always healing, and I'm always growing, and I'm open to it, very open to it. So let's look at right now, what are you consciously aware of here? What's the influence on this, you know, this shame that's coming up for you? Well, here's this 10 of Cups. We talked about the 9 and how you're saying, no, I'm done. But then it's like, I think you're aware that there's a lot more emotions coming up. The 10 of Cups talks about our full range of beautiful, like almost like an umbrella, a rainbow of emotions here for us to feel. And emotions are meant to, you know, we're meant to feel them. They come in, we feel them coming, and we feel them. We allow ourselves to cry, especially with the shame that needs to come out. There's a lot of grieving that will be with that. And then we release them. We have to process them. And so I think you're aware that, you know, these emotions are coming up, and you're aware that there's some feeling that needs to be done in order to heal. And then you get the Temperance card here. So the Temperance card says, you know, it's a card of this angel in an upright position, dipping their toe ever so slightly into the water. And whenever you see water, whenever I see water in a card, it represents emotions. And I think you're aware that, and maybe there's a fear on your part because this is in reverse here, but I think you're very much aware that it's time for you to dip your toe into that water of emotions again. You're very much aware that there's something here that's stirring that you need to feel. And Temperance talks about, you know, you can do this just a little bit at a time. And it reminds us that this whole journey, this healing journey we're on, is a process. this is a process. You know, it's not going to come like this. And I think you're starting to, you know, that you're aware of that. We need to be reminded of that. I had to be reminded of that, you know. We don't have to feel all these all at once. You know, we open up that Pandora's box and a lot of us will close it right away because we're petrified of these emotions that are coming out. But, you know, we can just do it a little bit and then close it. I remember one of my first therapists told me that it was a different one. It said, you know, it's like a faucet. You turn it on and then you can close it if you want. Turn it on, especially with grief, because grief is really much, a lot of times will come out, like I said, with shame. And you just kind of turn off that faucet, and then if it's too much for you, close it back up, you know, and you keep doing that. Maybe next time you'll open it up just a little bit, leave it open a little bit longer. And then you get the Queen of Pentacles here in reverse, and the Queen is our feminine side. We all have a feminine side and we all have a masculine side. The feminine side is that side that has been repressed in us for decades, like years, but it has nothing to do with gender. But it's that side of us that's not afraid to feel. She's the Pentacle, the Queen of Pentacles. She lives in her body. This is the side of us that's very grounded, that lives from her body, is not afraid to feel all her emotions. In fact, she makes all her decisions from all of her emotions. She feels her way through life. And so you're being asked here to, you know, recognize that, you know, you have this feminine side of yours. Like right now, it seems like it's a bit shut down, and, you know, the masculine will do that because the masculine is our ego self and it doesn't like emotions. And so it'll keep us up in our head. And I think you are pretty much a lot up in your head because you're feeling this shame. This individual kind of shows how much you're up in your head. But it's time now that the universe says, well, you know, you have this feminine side. It's time for you to get back in your body because that's where our emotions are, in our body. It's not up in our head. And so you need to get back in your body. You need to get, there's a call here for you to get grounded. And I think you're aware that you're very much ungrounded with all these emotions stirring. And so what's going on? Like, what's really important is this unconscious influence, because this is the part that is going to manifest the majority of all of these external patterns, these issues, the problems that you're dealing with right now, what we talked about. This is going to be what manifests it. And so we start off with the Five of Wands, and this is coming from your shadow when you're younger, when you were an adolescent, Scorpio. And here we start off with the Five of Wands, and this group of individuals, it almost sometimes, I mean, the five is all about conflict and change, but, you know, people like to sometimes interpret this. Tarot readers will say it's almost like a battle going on, but it's not really, I mean, it is in a way a battle, but it's a different kind of battle. I like to call this my inner critic card that's sitting here in your shadow. This is the one where we look in the mirror at ourselves and we just look at ourselves and go, ugh, at the person that every day we see, you know, this, what's wrong with me today? This is here, that's here, this is what I look like. And so it's that, what I call my less than card. I think when you were younger, and you've got this buried here in your shadow. So I think that when you were younger, there was a part of you that was made to feel less than by people around you, right? People that criticized you. And when we were criticized when we were younger by people around us, it could be, you know, other kids on the playground, it could be high school, could be authority figures in our life when we were younger. It's kind of like these things that we've picked up all our life, and we tend to repeat them to ourselves all the time. And so, and it really is a card of shame. I mean, when you feel less than, you feel there's your unworthiness coming out. And so what's happening is you're feeling, I'm going to say, like you were feeling this unworthiness here with this Five of Swords, and you're repeating these things in your head. Well, the reason you're doing that is because you're repeating what you learned when you were younger, and it's coming up for you to heal. In particular, you have the Six of Wands that's sitting right behind the Five of Wands, and the six in my deck has a duality to it. Every six in the deck has a duality. which means that on one hand, the card will look like something, but there's something hidden behind it. So in this case, this talks about this individual that's coming back from battle. Looks like he's won the battle. He's got a victory wreath on the top of his wand and one on top of his head. I mean, it's a double victory here, double winning if you want. But you know, if you pull that green blanket away, you can see the opposite of what's happening here, which is the loss. And so there's a real loss here that's sitting here. There's something that you lost when you were younger, you know, from this critic, when you were younger and things were told to you, telling you that you weren't as good as, you weren't as beautiful as, you weren't as strong as, or as handsome or whatever it is. You didn't measure up to some people's standards. And so there's real grief that sits behind that you've buried all of this, it's coming up for you right now, that you need to grieve. And, you know, I talked about it, there's a real need for you to get back in your body because there's emotions coming up. So you've got, you know, this like shame that's coming out. And then, you know, here's this Ace of Cups that's buried all behind this in your shadow. And Ace of Cups is that one last, you know, here's the 9. We said there was one cup missing. Well, here it is in your shadow. It's an offer from the universe. It's a chance for you to take it. It's a gift. Remember, this is when you're younger, and it was this cup of feeling, to feel your emotions. And I think you learned, you know, not to feel when you were told these things when you were younger, and you were shamed for who you were, for not being, you know, for being less than, not being good enough. And here's the grief behind that. Well, you weren't in a safe environment when you were younger where you felt like you were validated. It wasn't safe. And so you put that away, you put that emotion away, that offer from the universe to feel that. You put it away. And so this is what's happening. It's time now. You couldn't feel this when you were younger, but you can feel it now. And you're being asked to feel it now. This shame of not being good enough. That's sitting here and wanting to come up. And so what's needed for resolution? Well, 8 of Cups comes up as a first card, and the 8 of Cups speaks about this individual that's walking away from this cup. And normally, you know, it looks like somebody's walking away from these 8 cups and walking away from water. Water's all about feeling. It's about emotions. And you'd think that, you know, maybe they're walking away from their emotions, but this individual is actually walking towards the sun. They're walking away so that they can take time for themselves, so they can feel these 8 cups. It's like a dark night of the soul card where you've decided, you know what? It's time to put myself first, and it's time for me to get at some of this unworthiness that I'm feeling about myself, and I need to carve some time out for myself. 4 of Pentacles is right behind it, and it's interesting because it's in reverse, and if you look at this card closely, it's a woman that's guarding her purse. And I always think of this as myself, where I've in the past, my other life, I would say, I went on a lot of cruises where we would stop at these different islands where we could go shopping, and I love to go shopping at all the bazaars. But this woman has decided that she's going to guard her purse, and I think it was in reverse here, and not willing to spend her money on these bazaars and go and shop. So I'm wondering here if, you know, maybe you've thought about, well, maybe I could go back to therapy, maybe I could get some help, maybe I want to take some time off of work, or whatever it is that you think you need. But there's a part of you that's saying, no, material wise, it's not a good time. Maybe it's got to do with money. A lot of times when we hear the money thing kick in, you know, whenever it's time to put yourself first for whatever it is, and you hear, oh no, I don't have enough money for that, or no, I can't do that because of money. If money's the reason why, it's always your ego. So be very much aware of, you know, what are you telling yourself and why you can't spend this time on yourself, right? And the last card that comes in is Justice card. And explains why. I think there's a real part of you that wants to bring justice to this situation. You've got this sword here, this sword. This is the sword of authenticity, your sword of truth, and a balance here. I think there's a big party that wants to bring balance to your life. Big party that wants to cut through, use this sword to cut through all this bullshit and say, you know what? I'm done with feeling this way. I'm fed up with feeling like I'm not good enough. And it's time now that I'm going to figure out, okay, where does this come from? Where does this come from? And if it means I have to go inwards and take some time out to myself and carve time out for myself and really, dedicate a period of time where I'm going to work on me now, right? Because I matter. And so what's the guidance from the tarot here? Well, you have the High Priestess card that comes in first, and she's a major arcana card. She's a powerful card. She's the High Priestess, and notice how she has the moon here that's sitting on her crown chakra. She's very intuitive, very much in touch with her intuition. And again, this is a feminine quality. And it's the second feminine card that you have in the deck. You got the Queen of Pentacles, and now you have High Priestess, and then you get the Queen of Wands right beside it. So, a lot of feminine energy that's floating around here. And like I said, it's something that's been repressed in all of us for a long time, but I think you're being asked here to get in touch with that. And in particular, your High Priestess card, your intuition. Your intuition is your inner guidance. I think when you take this time to yourself, carve out some time for you, you're going to find out once you start, working on some of these emotions, processing some of these emotions, feeling some of this unworthiness and the shame around this, you are going to, follow your inner guidance, and it's going to tell you what your next step is. I think you're going to get more in touch with your intuition once you start clearing some of this away. And your Queen of Wands is going to come out. Your Queen is the feminine side of you, like I said. And this time it's the Wands. And Wands is all about our purpose, our putting yourself first, your creative part of you. And that doesn't have to be necessarily learning how to do something creative, but we can be creative when we put ourselves first. And when we decide, you know what? I'm going to use my intuition to find out, what's my next step here? Once I've worked through this with this stuff, I'm going to know what my next step is. And you're going to find, too, like the Ten of Pentacles comes out as the last card, which is powerful for you. And it's like there's something here that you need to look at. And the Ten of Pentacles talks about, if you look at this card, you have like three or four generations of people on this card. So it very much is a generational card. It also has this Kabbalistic tree of life formation. The Pentacles form this. And this is from the Jewish culture. And it's like it's a formation. It's like each node here, each pentacle would represent like a study that they would do to get more clarity on, where they came from, maybe what their purpose is. And this speaks a lot about our generational stuff, our generational trauma. This is a healing channel. So I think you're going to get some clarity here about maybe some generational trauma that you were unaware of. Like part of this is shame, because shame is handed down to us. It's not something that's necessarily we're born with. It's something that is handed down to us. And so why was this shame given to you? And probably given to the people that gave it to you. It kind of gets handed down from generation to generation. So this kind of has a generational aspect to it as well. So I'm going to read to you as a final card here. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave you with, the shame card, the unworthiness has come in here. So I'm going to leave you with a playlist from my other channel called Carol Cares. And there's some videos on there about shame if you're interested in. But before I go, I want to leave you with Mouse Spirit, which is small animal, but a very powerful one. So you have Mouse Spirit, which says, tend to the small things. The humble mouse pays attention to the smallest details And most Spirit calls on you to notice the nuances and the fine print at this time. In your eagerness to meet your goals and pursue your dreams, it's easy to forget the importance of clear communication and tending to the little things, including people's subtle signs that they are unhappy, as well as a small voice inside of you that says, this doesn't feel right. Take your time to sniff out what you need to know. And it has a lot to do with intuition. So is there some detail or nuance about how you engage others or operate in the world that is key to your success, but you've too readily dismissed as, it's nothing big or nothing special? Most Spirit reminds you that what seems small may be more important and powerful than you think. Do not underestimate yourself for co-creating something amazing when you pay attention to the details. All right, awesome reading for you, Scorpio. I want you to have compassion for yourself for what you're working through. This is a very difficult journey, the healing journey, but it's the most important one. So take care, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.